Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. You might have noticed I've been out of action for a while on YouTube. Basically I'm in the process of closing my small business. It will be closed by Christmas 2025, just because of other commitments in my life. However, this channel, as it says in the description, is still here because I am still a creative person. I will never not be making and creating in my life, and I still want to share that with anyone who's interested. So completely off topic for what you might be used to seeing on my channel. For many years I have been a crocheter. I used to be employed by a small company designing crochet patterns, and when that company closed, I kind of branched out into all the other creative products that you'll have seen on my channel. But crochet is something that I have always enjoyed and always will enjoy, and I'm trying to give myself permission to just do what I feel inspired to do as I go through figuring out a new season. And I remembered that I had been gifted a lot of this glittery yarn. You might not be able to see it very well on the camera. Oh, a bit there, look. It's not hugely like crazily glittered, but the glitter is there. But it is nice and soft, so it's not going to be scratchy. And because I was given a load of this and I tucked it away thinking, for about 3 years now, thinking, I want to make a cardigan. And Christmas is the best time to have a fun glittery cardigan. So I'm going to do it and give myself time to actually do it before we get to the Christmas season. So yes, I'll be using a 4mm crochet hook, and I'm just going to bring you along for the ride as I go. I'm not going to use a particular cardigan pattern. I'm going to kind of make it to fit me, based using perhaps like one of my own cardigans as sort of a template to get the sizing roughly, and kind of wing it and hope it turns out. I have done a little design to show you what is in my head. You know, you don't follow me for my drawing skills, hopefully, but you get the idea. I'm going to be doing my cardigan in this white glittery. It's going to be fairly flat and plain, because then I want to do a lot of applique and embellishments here. I'm going to basically, so there's going to be a ribbing along the bottom, and then I want to do gingerbread biscuit houses all the way along, all the way round the sides and back of the cardigan, and then possibly add in some gingerbread star applique as well. Because I also really enjoy embroidering, I'm going to use then probably a plain white yarn or a cotton possibly to stitch the icing, if you like, the detailed icing onto those crocheted houses, which of course then I will stitch onto the body of the cardigan. So that's the plan. And I assume if you're watching this video that it went near enough to plan that I was happy to put this video up and share it with you. So what I have been doing, oh, I've got rubbish everywhere. I've actually done a back panel. And this, which is the top, that bit, it's too big to fit in, completely fit in, as you can see. But as I said, I wanted a nicer flat, sort of smooth flat cardigan base, and I didn't want anything too bulky, so the DK double knit yarn is great. And I wanted something that worked up fairly fast and wasn't kind of complicated, that I can just do mindfully in front of the TV. So I have done rows of, in UK terms, half treble and treble crochet, just alternating rows. So half treble, treble, half treble, treble. And if you're in the US, that's half double, double, half double, double. And the reason why I've done that is because I like the close stitches on a half treble in UK terms, but I like the stitch height of the treble, because obviously your work grows more quickly. So I compromised by doing a row of each, to hopefully mean that it has worked up relatively quickly. And I always like to start with the back panel because that's usually the biggest piece in a cardigan, and so then the other pieces kind of feel quite quick after that. So having done that, I'll move that out of the way. I was just going to bring you in. I just started the beginning of a front panel, so I just thought I would bring you in for that. I am working a foundation half treble crochet, foundation half double crochet, depending on your terminology. If you don't like a foundation, you can just do a chain and then work into it with your half trebles. But obviously when I'm having to kind of make it to a certain, measurement as I'm going, it is easier to do the foundation because obviously it's not going to stretch, then it's not going to become any longer, which is what happens with a chain. If when you work back into it, it does elongate with that first row of stitches that you add back in. And I haven't got my tape measure out, so I will have to pause the video and go and get that in a moment. But I'd yarned over, gone through the chain at the bottom, yarned over, pull through one to create that chain, and then yarn over and pull through again to create the half treble crochet. So I'll just do that once more, because obviously if you wanted a detailed instruction, there are lots of YouTube videos available to get that with. So I'm going to find my tape measure, be back with you in a moment. Right, so I have just got out my household metal measuring tape, A, because it was easy and on hand, and B, because although I use fabric tape measures a lot, I know there's a risk that they can stretch and then not be the correct measurements. So if possible, I like to check them against a solid tape measure. Now I worked out that I need 8 inches. Just take my hook out for a minute. So I don't know why I ended up doing in inches, because I'm not an inches kind of a person. I normally work in centimetres. Now if I stretch it a bit, it is 8, but if I don't stretch it, it's about 7.5. So I'm going to do a few more stitches just to get to that point. I'm not doing any shaping or anything special on this cardigan, because it is just, to be worn at Christmas. It doesn't need to look especially fancy, or it's just for fun. Obviously you could use another cardigan pattern that you have and you like, or you could even just buy a pre-made cardigan and add the applique pieces if you don't want to spend the time making an entire cardigan first. But because this was motivated by using this yarn that I had been given, I am making the cardigan. That's better. So I am just going to count those stitches for when I do my next front panel. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29. Okay, and then let's move that out of the way. All I'm then going to be doing, as I said, I will chain 1, because maybe 2, since we're doing trebles or doubles. So I want to keep the sides nice and neat for joining later on. I'm going to try and remember to make that chain 2 my first stitch, and then just work my row of trebles. And it's as simple as that. I just work up to the length of the cardigan panel that I want, with a row of half trebles and a row of trebles. and I think that's been fairly effective. It's also not too bulky, because I have spent quite a while watching YouTube videos of what other people have done to make Christmas cardigans. A lot of them have made the granny squares with the characters in them, or presents, or other Christmas motifs, and they're great, but they often look quite thick and quite bulky, and I kind of want something a bit lighter weight, because I tend to find that if I'm inside, which is where I plan to be around Christmas time, at houses or cafes, restaurants, they usually have some decent heating, otherwise people wouldn't want to stay, and therefore a bulky thick knit is too warm for what I would want to wear in those situations. I also find I can't get my coat sleeves over a bulky cardigan, so that's not helpful even if I was wanting to wear it out somewhere. So yeah, I'm pretty happy this is a fairly lightweight panel that works up using these stitches, and I will continue as I did with this panel, and I will be back probably when I have 2 front panels to join onto my shoulders, and then I will work out what I'm doing for the sleeves. Right, so I've done the front panels, as you can see, and I'm just showing you now how I've laid it out on my table to make it easy and make sure I get the pieces straight and attached where I want them. I've got right sides together, so this is the wrong side, this is the right side, this is the right side, and the back is the wrong side, so that when I've done my seams I will then turn this the right way out. If you don't mind seeing your seam, or you want to make your seam a feature, you can of course attach them with right sides outside, but that's up to you. I like using my pegs because they're a bit stronger than sewing clips, a bit larger, and they hold everything where I want them to be. So I'm going to pop this foam back in the stand, and I will just show you really quickly how I'm going to join that. Obviously there are lots of options for joining. I don't think it really matters. I think it's personal preference. I often stitch mine because I'm really happy sewing, but obviously slip stitch, single crochet, anything you want. And I think for ease today I will probably just slip stitch. So I'll be back in a moment. This is now right side out, and as you can see I have a stitch marker here and the same on the other side. All I did was I measured the sleeve of my cardigan laid flat, or you could measure your arm and cut that number in half to give you a measurement, and I just measured from this top shoulder seam down, and where my measurement came to I've marked. So this section here is where I'm going to work in rounds to create an armhole, and I'm going to probably do that with exactly the same stitches. I had wondered about doing all trebles or all doubles instead of halves, but I think it might look different. I'm not sure. I'm going to see, I think, how long I think it's going to take me, because obviously I've got 2 sleeves to do. Then I've got all the ribbing before I can move on to the gingerbread houses. I'll definitely start with a round of half trebles at the beginning of the armhole, and then if I feel like I'm in the zone with trebles, I may just do trebles. I don't think you'll be able to tell the difference, and the armholes do not need to be so close textured, because I don't think I'll be adding anything on there. So if they stretch and are a bit gappy, there's no problems. So I'm going to crack on with a sleeve, and I may come back and update you when I have something to show you. I have just finished my first round of half treble crochets around the sleeve hole, and I forgot to say to you what I'm doing is into the edges of the half treble rows, I'm putting 1 half treble, and in the edges of the half treble rows, I'm putting 2 half trebles. I'm trying to find, I can't see through my camera, so that there's a 2 and a 1, because this is obviously a much deeper stitch than the half treble. So again, that's optional, but that's what I found sort of works to give me enough stitches around the armhole. And also I have counted my stitches, not because that number is important, but just so that I can make sure I have about the same number of stitches on the other armhole. The other thing I forgot to mention is I will probably turn my rounds whenever I remember, to try and get the stitches to be even. And I do think I am planning on treble crocheting or double crocheting, just for ease and speed, because sleeves tend to take me a while and I tend to get quite bored doing them because it doesn't feel quite so exciting. But again, if you want closer textured sleeves, you could do all half trebles instead. But just those were the things that I forgot to mention. So I went from my shoulder seam all the way around back to the top. So now I will turn this to work back in the opposite direction. But I can't actually start that because I'm holding my camera instead of having it on my stand, so I can't crochet while holding it. But hopefully that made sense and that was helpful. Hello, I'm back with an update. I'm sorry about the lighting. It is 6:30 in the morning and I'm in the UK, so it's very dark. So I had to put my big overhead lights on, and so there's a bit of shadowing. I'm trying to keep my shadow out of the way. I just wanted to talk through while I had the chance where I'm at with my cardigan. Obviously I have 2 sleeves. I'd stopped without before the cuff because I was going to do a round of my brown, another round of my white before going into the cuff. However, when I went to go and get out my brown, which is this one, I suddenly realised these balls are 50 grams, not 100 grams. So I do not have as much as I thought I had. Yes, I could buy some more. I'm not sure if it's worth it. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to start on designing the house patterns. And once I know like how much yarn a house is taking up, I'll know whether even this is enough. It might not even be enough for, I was going to do 3 different house patterns and I probably guess I need maybe 9 houses, maybe more, depends how big I make them. So yes, I'm going to design the houses, work up a couple, see how much yarn is used, and then if I'm going to buy more anyway, then it's probably worth going ahead and doing my little stripes on my sleeves. If I think, oh no, there's loads, I'm going to not need to buy any more for the houses, I might just carry on and leave the sleeves completely white. So that's where I am. Also to mention, once I had added my sleeves on here, I turned the cardigan inside out again and just worked slip stitch along these edges to join the side panels from under the armpit down to the bottom, just to join those up simply. And of course I've got a load of ribbing to work all the way around the collar and the bottom. But yes, I didn't want to continue onto something without having documented this bit, and this was the time when I had quiet and the space to do a little film. So that's why I'm here very early in the morning. So I will get on with some houses and be back to update you soon. So I'm back with my gingerbread house update. Things have gone a bit different to plan, but I will talk through where I've got to. I initially designed 3 different shapes of houses, and I made a few of those. I think it was about 10. And then I spent a very long time practicing the embellishments on it. I did short back stitches, long straight stitches, chain stitch, surface, single crochet, surface chains. And then I went back to a bit of a combination, and I ended up with something like this. However, I'm not happy. They're not giving me the impact that I was wanting. And so I've kind of put these to one side. I don't know if I will end up using some of them or not, but I've ended up deciding I'm going to start with a large gingerbread house for the back of the cardigan. So I have made the kind of base of the house. This is, if I zoom out a little bit, 40 stitches across, but with 20 rows, and they're just rows of half trebles. You could obviously do doubles, but I didn't want it to take me forever because of the quantity involved. And then, of course, we need a roof. And the roof I have done as a triangle. This will all make sense in a moment. But I worked from the top, increasing my stitches down the sides. So I started with 4 stitches and went to 6. And then as I worked down the rows, I did alternating rows of 1 increase on each end, 2 increases on each end, 1 increase on each end, 2 increases on each end. And as you can probably see, these are treble crochets, and I can't tell if I missed one there or what, but we won't tell later on. I don't know how I did that because I've been crocheting for so long and so many hours I can't even work out what there, but I have been in a hurry because this is not my first take on this design either. What I'm doing now, as you can see, it's slightly counterintuitive to my original thought, which was making it not too chunky or bulky. But I'm hoping on the back of the cardigan there will be, it won't be too uncomfortable or too difficult to accommodate in a coat. But I'm doing some sort of like icing detailing, and I'm not sure how far I'm going up. I kind of want to do like a big blob on the top section somewhere. I'm not quite sure, but I thought I'd just demonstrate how I'm doing these little frilly bits because it's a bit random. Oh, and I haven't even finished off on this side. So I'll just finish this side because I do work them all so I work them upside down like this from here to here. And they probably look fancier than they actually are. They're actually very straightforward, just a bit fiddly. Is that the right? No, you see I'm not concentrating. I'm leaving a row in between. Well, it's like a row and a half, so like the top half of the row you've stitched in and the one above. So I need to join up here. And then all I'm doing is working around the posts of these treble crochets. So I do 3 front post treble crochets, which is tricky when you're trying to look through the camera and unwind your yarn. So yeah, just like that, straightforward. 3 around that post, and then around the next post I do a double crochet. These are all UK terms again, in case anyone was wondering. And then I skip the next stitch and I repeat my 3 trebles. It's just a little bit fiddly, but the other alternative is you crochet them as like separate strips and then stitch them on, and I was just trying to avoid that because obviously with the way I'm doing this now, I'm going to be adding doors and windows, probably a Christmas tree next to the house, something like that. It's all gone a bit, it's all blown up a little bit from the original. But as you can see, then that just forms this sort of trim, which is supposed to look like icing / snow along the roof. And obviously I will be joining the two together, but it's obviously much easier to stitch this if it's not joined onto here. And I've got to do a bit more designing, at least a door, and I haven't decided if I'm having 2 or 4 windows, maybe a Christmas wreath in the middle, like I say, some other Christmassy stuff, maybe some little candy canes. Obviously you could go away and find lots of different patterns for things that you might want to add if you're going to do this sort of thing. And I'm wondering that I might add some of the little houses still onto the front of the cardigan, or whether I just do stars on the front of the cardigan. I'm not quite sure, but I have ordered more of the brown because I wasn't sure how much I was going to need. So I am going to be doing my cuff stripe, and possibly even around along the bottom of the cardigan before I do the ribbing. I have not decided, but I will come back and show you what I'm doing with that when I get onto it. And hopefully this gingerbread house won't take me as long as I'm worried it might. And I will be back very soon. Another day and another update for you. So I have actually, as you can see, covered the roof in these like icing frills, whatever you want to call them. And I do like the effect now it's finished. However, after I had done all these rows, I then had to tack these down because they didn't want to lie flat. You can see like these ones at the end are still a bit kicky-uppy. And a bit of movement's, you know, great, but it was a lot. So if I turn it over, you can see I had to go along the rows with some thread and just tack them all down. So this has been a very labour-intensive roof, and that wasn't what I'd planned. Took me a lot longer than I was expecting, but at least it's done. So I'm going to kind of try and crack on a little bit. Right, so I have made a little door, obviously not embellished. It probably needs some sort of door frame around it and some little windows. Now these are chunky yarn, as you can probably tell, because they're not going to lay flat until I attach them. Because this was the colour I liked and it happened to have it in chunky, but I don't think that'll matter too much. You can actually use whatever you've got that works. None of that is very even, but you get the idea. So I'm going to have to kind of attach all this before I can start adding any more embellishments. I'm thinking maybe some little fairy lights, candy canes, I don't quite know yet, just kind of bits of embellishments and stitching. So I'm going to use my fabric glue, which is over here, this sort of thing, to attach the roof, just where I'm going to overlap it over the top of the house, and then just stick these down. And then I will stitch them right around the edges as well, so that nothing curls up or gets snagged. But I position them with my fabric glue to make sure they don't move unintentionally, because I find pinning distorts the shape and doesn't work as well personally. So that's how I do it. So that's what I'll be doing next. I'll simply just glue a load there, stick it down, blob some in the centre of all these pieces and let those dry. And then I have finally made progress on the actual cardigan. We have 2 sleeves with the gingerbread stripe and the cuff. So I just did one more round the same width as the rest of the sleeve in the brown. And I reduced my width here down by doing one double crochet and a decrease, one double crochet and a decrease, but you may have to play with that to get it the right width for you. And then I have also done, if I can get anything in the shot, a brown all the way around the front and bottom of the cardigan. But first of all, around the sides and top, I did a round of half trebles to even it all out, so that these brown stitches, which are very obvious, look nice and even. So all I need to do now is add the ribbing all around the neck and the bottom, and then that cardigan base itself will actually be finished once I've woven in all the ends, of which, there we go. We have lots and lots of ends, all on the sleeves as well, because I stopped the cuff and then I tried it on and realised I could get away with a couple more rows of ribbing to elongate the cuffs, so I did that. So yeah, lots and lots of ends to weave in. So I will finish the ribbing on the cardigan, weave in all the ends, stick my house together as it is so far, and then when I come back it will be to show you the embellishments on the house and whatever else I'm doing before I attach the house and look at Christmas trees and other bits that I'm hoping to put on. I'm still got gingerbread stars in the back of my head. I'm kind of just fighting the time. It's now the 15th of November. As I've said before, I'm really hoping this video is up for the start of December. So what I do may just be determined by time and how long everything takes me. But I will be back in just a moment for you. It's another day and I am back again with an update. I have finished the cardigan. It just needs steaming to relax all the edges where the ribbing kind of pulls it in tighter a bit. That's put out of the way at the moment, but I'm back with the house. I've just made a long loopy chain, which I have actually used fabric glue again to stick down in various places for my fairy lights. And so here I've just got a thread on my needle, and I'm just going to try and kind of decide where I'm going to put the little lights that I'm either going to stitch on or might be bobble stitches, because there's like a little bit where they attach to the main wire, if that makes sense, and that will also help to kind of tack down where this isn't glued. So I'm just going to like come up here. Oh, I've got threads everywhere. There is a knot in the end. This is the end of the chain that I haven't woven in yet. And then just kind of come down somewhere into the house and just create like, and maybe do 2 stitches, we'll see, next to each other to make it a bit thicker, like the top section. I could do with doing a little sketch of what I've got in my head. Ooh, there's your kind of wire, and then I'm like thinking of a bit like that before you then have and there's your light. You can see I'm not brilliant at drawing, but like that, if you can see that. Can you see that? And so I've just stitched like this little bit here, and then it probably needs like a little section like that. Obviously you don't have to do that, you could just put lights on it and be done. I don't even know if I need that extra bit now, because it's yarn. It'll make it too big and bulky. It might have to stay like that. And then we'll just move along like that, adding those on while trying to see what I'm doing, keeping it in the screen. I'm not going to do any more of those because that's not exciting to watch, and I'm conscious this video is going to be like 3 hours long by the time I'm finished. What I have also done is I've made a little wreath, which I originally thought was going to go on the door, but I now think might end up above the door because there's like a gap here. I think it depends what it looks like when I've got the lights done. So that's why I'm doing these next, so I can see spacing and what I think. And that'll have a bow or something on it. I haven't quite decided that yet. And I've also made one Christmas tree. I did think I might make different sized trees for each side, or like several small trees and one big tree. Yeah, I'll have to wait and see how the timing goes. I'm still racing the clock to get that done, and I can't get that in the screen, but it'll like go next to the house. It needs a little trunk. And then I was going to do some like surface crochet chains moving backwards and forwards across it to give it some decoration. You could just do like stitch French knots. I just thought it'd be quicker to do the surface chains all in one go, done. Because I'm kind of at that point in the project where I'm like, I did not think this was going to take me so long. I've still got so much to do. I'm in the middle of making various Christmas gifts for people. I'm sort of, watching the clock tick down because I've got some other gifts and they will be fine. Some are a bit of a trial and error, and if they're not right, I've got to go back to the drawing board and rethink. So I can't leave stuff to last minute, otherwise I'm going to run out of time. There's various other things happening in the background that are stressful and difficult, and I'm just trying to kind of make it all work. So if I seem frazzled and weird, it's because there's just a lot of stuff. Not a lot of time. Not a lot of, like, the things I feel motivated to do are not necessarily things that I need to do, and vice versa. And this is definitely one where I've lost the motivation a bit, and I'm hoping that if I just push through it, that I'll kind of see it all coming together and get excited about it again, and then I'll want to get it finished. Because after doing so much filming already and so much work, I don't want to like just go, oh, screw it, I'll leave it till next year, because it won't get finished again. And who knows what next year will bring. So yeah, I'm just trying to keep going and complete. I do like that feeling of completing something. So I will come back when I have something to update you on again. So after a solid morning's work, here I am. I have sewn on the lights. Don't look too closely. They're a bit rough and ready, shall we say, because of the twiddliness of stitching onto half trebles instead of doubles, which is a much closer weave and more even. Also the fact I was using various different yarns, different thicknesses, different types, but I think it looks nice enough, and hopefully when it's being worn, no one is going to be looking that closely. I basically did sort of a rough detached chain and then filled it in, and then did a detached chain with the white yarn around it to kind of make them look a bit tidier. I've added French knots in the corners there, French knots to my wreath, a chain stitch all the way around the door to give it a bit of a frame, and my candy canes down here, which are whipped back stitch. So I did back stitches moving up with the teal colour, and then I changed to my glittery white again, and I whipped with my glittery white. I was going to do a lot more embellishment on this. I was going to do some like embroidery all around the actual gingerbread sections, but it literally has taken me all morning just to do what I've done, and I think I'm going to have to say it's good enough. Because I was going to stitch in the glittery white again, I could actually come back at a later date and stitch it right through the cardigan, because obviously the cardigan being white, it'll be white on white. You won't be able to see the stitches in an obvious way from the inside of the cardigan. So I could come back and do that. So I've laid this out obviously on the back of the cardigan. I've measured from each side seam to make sure this is as even as I can get it in the middle of the back of the cardigan. And then I've realised, because I did this tree in a rush, my tree is too large for the gap that's at the side here. So plan B is that I'm going to still make another tree and try them on the front panels, and then have some gingerbread stars above the trees, like in the sky. That's my working plan at the moment. So obviously the trees need quite a lot more work, but I'm going to do what I've done with all the applique pieces so far, which is fabric glue enough that it stays put, and obviously then I will need to stitch right around the edges to secure this in place. But obviously it will need a couple of hours to dry. I'll probably not be stitching it today, so I'm just going to, I'm always good at putting too much of this on as well, and I'm always like, don't over words. Basically don't use too much glue, and I basically never listen, and then I wonder why I can't get my needle through when I'm trying to stitch it. The answer is you should have listened. So I just need to try and make sure I've not got any of the other cardigan sections tucked into underneath. Give that a good push down, do the same underneath, and you'll see the lovely mess that is on the back of here. But you know, it could be worse. I've got another lovely loop there. Oh, if I don't get stuck on it. And obviously I'm not going to worry about the edges too much, because the edges are going to be stitched. It is more kind of, if you glue around the rest of the panels, it kind of helps them to, stay. And I've just lined it up along this row of brown at the bottom. I'm just going to kind of make sure all my sides are nice and even and straight. And give it a good push down. I might even just stick a book on top, just do a bit of extra compression for about an hour. And I will go away and start working on the trees. Here it is, all stitched on. If I show you just down here, you might be able to see I've just whip stitched, trying to keep to the back loops of the stitches wherever possible to make it less visible. I've sewn around the three sides with the white, and then used the brown down bottom, and I have made the trees. This was a chain that I then stitched on using a running stitch with the white down the middle, and then some French knots and a little star on the top. I'm not a big fan of the chain, I will say. If I was doing them again, I wouldn't do the chain, but it is what it is. At this point, I just need it to be finished. So these are going to sit like that, I think. I have made a star, and then I sort of lost the will to make any more stars. So when I come back, having attached these trees, I'll show you the star, I can even put the details in the description box for you in case you want to make the stars. They're quick and easy, it's just that. They're a bit fiddly, it involves lots of weaving in of ends, and I just thought, I just don't think I've got the motivation to do this, but they would look pretty cute on a cardigan if you decided you did want to do that. So hopefully we're nearly at the end, and I will attach these in the same way as the house. I will use some fabric glue, and then when that is dry I will stitch around the outside, and I will see you in a moment. My trees are drying, having been glued in place, and I'm just here very quickly to do what I said and show you the stars I've made. Oh, it's quite dark in here. Obviously I haven't woven in all the ends, so you'll have to kind of imagine it, but I think they're actually really, really nice with a bit of white stitching embellishments on them. So I'm thinking, well, maybe I could add these next year instead, when I want to do a bit of something festive, instead of starting from scratch on a brand new piece of clothing. I could just add on, because these could go on the front and on the back and look really good. You could do them in like metallic yarn or any other thing that takes your fancy. So that was a really simple little star that I just designed. I will pop the details of that in the description box if you want to give those little stars a go. I'm hopefully going to be able to get these stitched on really quick, and then I'll obviously be back to show you the finished cardigan all together, the back and the front, hopefully. So as it happens, my daughter has a mannequin that she's using for a textiles project in her art work, and I have just borrowed it so you can see the full effect without me having to stand in front of the camera. So as you can see, this is the back with the gingerbread house all finished. I will just spin this round, and then you can see the sides and a bit of light coming through there. So I'm pretty pleased with how it's turned out. Like I said, I have hopes that next year I might add to this and it might develop over time, but I think it's festive enough to wear as it is for now after all those hours of work. If you decide to make something and you're inspired by what I've done, I would love to see, please tag me, and hopefully I'll be back soon to share with you what I decide to create or make in the future. Bye.